Good morning, everybody. It's great to be with everybody today. We're going to do another song here. This is one of my favorites by James Taylor. This is called The Secret of Life. Well, the secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. Any fool can do it. There ain't nothing to it. Nobody knows how it got to the top of the hill. But since we're on our way down, we might as well enjoy the ride. The secret of love is in opening up your heart. It's okay to feel afraid, but don't let that stand in your way. 'Cause anyone knows that love is the only road. Since we're only here for a while, we might as well show some style. Give us a smile. Isn't it a lovely ride? Sliding down, gliding down, and you try not to try too hard. It's just a lovely ride. Well, the thing about time is that time isn't really real. It's all our point of view. How does it feel for you in there? Einstein said he could never understand it all. Planets spinning through space with a smile upon your face. Welcome to the human race. Some kind of lovely ride. Sliding down and gliding down, and we try not to try too hard. It's just a lovely ride. Well, the secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. Thanks, y'all. What an amazing band here.
We are so blessed with so much talent here. Pat Cardwell, and look at this expanded band this morning. Give it up for them. Yeah, welcome. Welcome this morning. I'm glad it's so nice that our automated devices change our time for us, unless you thought you were coming to the 9:15 service, but we won't talk about that. But welcome this morning to each and every one of you. We like to begin our time together remembering that, we come from many different walks of life, different spiritual and religious traditions, but what brings us here is love, and in the recognition that God is love, and honoring that sacred in all creation. The way that we've been engaging and living that out is right here. Would you join me? We are radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, and socially responsive. With that, I invite you to join in an opening prayer. As we turn our awareness within this morning, we do so in that sweet spirit of life. There is a sweetness of life that you can see in the eyes and the face of every newborn baby. There's a sweetness of life that you see in the beautiful flowers that are finding their way through the earth, through the soil covering. Beautiful, bright colors beginning to pop forward. Just reminding us that life never disappears, it simply changes form. Today we explore what it is to change form and to understand the energies of both fear and love, and how it is a representation of this sacred reverence and revealing of life. For this opportunity to be here, to be blessed, and to be a blessing, we are truly grateful. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. We invite you to stand as you're able and join in our opening song that says, I send my love. I send my love over the mountain. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. Send my love. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. One more time. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me, and it returns to me. All right, this morning in the spirit of wisdom, we ask you to greet your neighbor with a namaste or an elbow bump. So welcome to the love and light of unity this morning. think you should say that. It's good for the soul. Yeah, yeah. Welcome this morning, and thank you for being here, each and every one of you. We like to take this opportunity to acknowledge our young people. We have a Sunday school, youth program, nursery to teens, and some of them are already in the back. Some of them are getting ready to head over with Rev Gabby and Reverend Barbara Ann. We have a clue. They're going to come back towards the end of the service and share what they've learned. But young people, this is the clue. It is a picture of the moon and prayer. So that's your clue. You're going to go figure out what that means. Moon and prayer. You'll figure it out too. So we're going to bless our young people as they head out to say, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Have a wonderful Sunday school experience this morning. We'd also like to extend a special welcome to any of you that may be here for the first time today. If this is your first time, if you just raise your hand, we will acknowledge you as a newcomer. We have a card that we'll give you, and it has a heart that you can wear. Thank you for holding those hands up. If you would hold your hand up again, our Unity folks, here's one on the end. Just lovingly point if you saw a hand go up, and we'll get those welcoming cards to them. Attached to that card is a pin that's yours as a gift, and there's a red heart. If you want to wear that heart, it allows us to more easily recognize you, to extend a warm welcome. There is a welcome booth where there's packets of information. Any of you can stop by if you have a question or suggestion. That's the place you can stop. But we'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our newcomers, to welcome each and every one of you. We pause and welcome our live stream. Thanks to those that are joining us today from afar or will join us in the future. And we extend this blessing to each and every one that says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. We truly appreciate your being here today. Rev Christy Corna, who's at the heart of our church office and ministry, is going to share some announcements with us today. First, as a reminder, if you've not yet turned your cell phone off, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could just turn that completely off, send it into the silence.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to extend an invitation to a two-part class that's coming up. It's called The Power of Prayer, and that's happening on Tuesday evenings with Reverend Diane West and Reverend Morgan Barkley. They're both in the room. If you would like to stand so folks can see you. Thank you. And this class is open for everyone. It's an opportunity for each of us to deepen our prayer practice, and we all know that prayer is so powerful and can change our experience in life. And it is also a prerequisite if you are considering a prayer chaplain position. So if you have questions, please see either Rev Morgan or Rev Diane, and there are sign-up sheets out in the lobby as well. And then I wanted to let you know that this Wednesday, we have a group of amazing healing facilitators in our community. And on the second Wednesday of every month, they come out here on Wednesday evening from 6 to 8:30 and offer individual sessions, healing sessions. And there is no charge for this service, and it begins at 6. You come in, you sign up for a time slot, and there's so many different modalities available. And if you would like more information on that, please see me following today's service. So that's happening actually this Wednesday. It's the second Wednesday of every month. So come out and experience that. It's a wonderful gift that you can give to yourself. It's an amazing gift that they give this community.
The next one, there's an insert in your bulletin with information on both sides, but one of the things I wanted to highlight, the last Sunday of this month, we are having one combined service at 10:30 where you get to come together, people from both services, and it'll be a regular service, but it's completing our capital campaign kickoff. And two other things. After the service, we're going to have a shared meal. If you want to bring a side dish, we'll have proteins provided and desserts. But if you bring a side dish, we'll set this up and can enjoy a meal together. And there's a beautiful experience also taking place called a despacho ceremony. Would you stand, Megan? I see you. Megan is one that is helping organize this, and she'll be telling us a little bit more about it as the month unfolds. But it's a Peruvian ceremony where we take items from nature. It's something you would find and bring with you. It may be an acorn, it may be a pine cone, it may be a leaf, it may be a stone. It's whatever speaks to you. as many of you would like to bring one, we bring it in, and we're going to infuse these with prayer. And in particular, it can be your personal prayer, but we're sharing a common prayer, and that is for the highest and best demonstration of this ministry, for us to fulfill our potential and to create the space that allows us to do that. So it's a wonderful, beautiful ceremony. Sharon Oxendine, I see you. Would you please stand? Sharon is also helping Megan. The two of them are working together with others. And so after this, we pray into these, and then we create something that looks sort of like a mandala, and then it will be buried somewhere on the grounds or very close to the ground. So a sacred, tangible ritual to help in the creating that we're doing. I also want to give you an update. How many of you know we're in the midst of a Raise the Roof capital campaign? And last week we had an important deadline. We had a deadline with our bank, and I want to let you know that as of last Sunday, we are at $500, almost $600,000. Give yourself a hand. That is incredible. We've done this. Now, what you didn't know, and what I didn't know until Judy told me, but our bank, we had a number. We needed a cutoff because we're working with our bank, and there was a number we needed to hit. And Judy, it was $582,000. So we hit that number that we needed last week. So the good news is now, we will continue to collect pledges through the end of the month, and depending on what comes in, we will scale our work. If all 900,000 comes in, we know exactly what we'll do. If we come in somewhat under that, we'll scale it to do what we can at this time. So many of you have received, if you're a part of the community, you received a packet of information with a pledge form. The reason we need those pledges, I'm very aware that people want and have different relationships with the church. Some people are pledging and really want to help financially. Other people, that's maybe not the relationship you want. But if you have a form, you're in some way connected, and we're asking you to turn those in, and maybe the way you support is to say, I'm all in, I'm holding you in prayer. Because it helps us if we can say, we've got 250 people who are all in, and we can show you how they're helping. So I hope that makes sense. There'll be people by the table that can talk to you about that. There's individuals that can give you a tour and show you what will be taking place. I'd also like to acknowledge, if you have been a part of any of these campaign teams, if you're a part of our board, would you please stand and let us acknowledge you for your ongoing support and work in all of this. So thank you to each and every one of you. This is exciting what we're getting ready to do around here. I want to introduce you to Pat and Laura Cardwell. They are just very involved in our spiritual community, and throughout this month people are sharing why they are called and how they have been called to be here. So would you please welcome Pat and Laura Cardwell. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. I always like to go first because Pat makes us teary, so I like to do mine first. So several years ago, my mentor asked me if I had a spiritual practice, and I was caught off guard by that because I was raised Catholic. There was no practice in spirituality. I didn't really know what he meant. And Pat and I had tried a few churches over the course of our marriage, but we always left because to us it felt like church, which at the time meant rules and judgment and politics. But one Sunday morning, I got up early and was researching different churches in the area, and Unity of the Blue Ridge stood out among them. And so I decided to go. So I went to find Pat and tell him, and he just kind of stood there and stared at me. And so I started adding words like, well, you don't have to go. I'll go by myself, but I want to go. And he said, no. He said, last night I was talking to somebody about Unity, and I was going to ask you if you wanted to go. So we were clearly called here. And I knew it was right on the first Sunday because Darlene said, this is the church for people who don't like churches. And I was like, yeah, I'm in the right place. We are in the right place. But it had my heart when we were inducted as new members, and I was blown away by the power of being welcomed and blessed by that many people at one time. And I'm all in because I can come here every week and know that I am loved, and I am held, and I am enough. And I have the opportunity to share that with other people. And I'm all in because Unity of the Blue Ridge has become more than a place that I go on Sunday. It has become my home and my family.
So Unity has been our spiritual home for the past 5 years or so. And the first time I heard Darlene speak, I knew I was home as well. I knew I was going to shed some tears, which I clearly am now. And I think there's been one Sunday where I didn't shed tears, and I was really proud of myself. And I think I had a broken tear duct that day or something, you know. So, and there are, of course, many different types of tears of joy, tears of working through and processing things. And I have always felt welcomed and appreciated and held as well in the love of all the times that I have thought myself apart and been gently coaxed, you know, to the deeper realization that I can never be separate. It's supposed to be Laura, but she says I make her cry, but I think I make myself cry. This is such a special place. It's really stretched me over the years and brought me to do things that I didn't think I could do or didn't know I could do, and I was capable of, including serving on the board, which was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, and was really special to get to see behind the scenes and how things work and what the needs are, and just how many special people were in a similar place, you know, that, oh, I've never done anything like that. And I know so many that are on the board right now have never served on the board. And so that and so many other ways to contribute, music and other ways, and I know everybody contributes in so many ways. So and I encourage everybody to not be afraid to step forward if you feel called to try something that you've never done before. And it's a lovely place to be experimenting with that, and also occasionally to be simultaneously voluntold by Darlene, and when she intuits that you have a certain skill set, and that's always been lovely and serendipitous. And so just this has been a huge part of my growth and transformation, and through several careers as well as just personal, and Laura and I on our journey, and just being able to bring healing and wellness to others. And this community's support and love gives me the courage to give and support this new vision that we all have here, and really, you know, stepping out and knowing that the ground will rise to meet us as we step forward. And so this is why I'm all in, and I care so deeply for each of you. Thank you.
Myself in the same old place 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I can't seem to wrap my brain around why I keep falling for the same stories. 'Cause deep down I believe the lie. I believe the lie. Something's about to so true, I said. So walk in these chains, walk with these chains, walk with these chains, I believe. So off with these chains, off with these chains, off with these chains, I believe. Come to finally sever ties with all these vows I thought would keep me safe. Somewhere down the road they turned against me, these high walls, and I lost all my trust. 'Cause deep down I believed the lie. I believed the lie. Something's about me was so true. Walk with these chains. Walk with these chains. Walk with these chains, I believe. So off with these chains. Off with these chains. Off with these chains. 'Cause I believe. I believe that I deserve something beautiful. I believe that I deserve something beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. 'Cause deep down I believe the lie. I believe the lie. The lie that was not so true. Walk with these chains. Walk with these chains. Walk with these chains. I believe. I believe. So off with these chains. Off with these chains. Off with these chains. I believe. I believe. Oh, I believe. I believe. Yes, I believe. 'Cause deep down I believe the lies. I believe the lies. I believe the lies. Oh, so walk. You gotta walk. Walk with these chains. I said off with these chains. Off with these chains. Off with these chains. I believe. 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 I believe.
Wow, I believe. Cat Williams and our amazing Unity Band. Show them your love. That was wonderful. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So have you ever felt like you've been walking with some sort of chain, and a part of you knew that it did not have to be that way? Yeah. We are in the midst of a 7-week study series based on the book, The 4 Sacred Secrets, and it's a great book, and we're going to get through this book, but we're going to take a detour today. Sometimes things come up so big that you just need to sit down and talk about them. And I've been thinking about this, and when we have our staff meeting this week, Reverend Gabby was talking about the children last week. She said, Reverend Darlene, can we divert from the plan and address something with our young people this Sunday? And I said, sure, what? And she said, last Sunday they were just all hyper and all talking about this virus thing. And if they were safe and if their parents were safe, and they were talking about fear. And I said, from the mouth of babes, from wisdom. And so the title of my talk today is something I've never talked about in its entirety. And the title of my talk today is Fear, Anxiety, and worry. Forgetfulness. Fear, anxiety, and worry. Have you noticed it lately? You know what it feels like in your own body. And there's a lot of cultural stuff around fear especially. You know, the word for fear, we use it for so many things sometimes, just like we do love. We love everything from pizza to the love of our life to the God of our being. I mean, is that really all the same? And so it is with fear. That word is used often and seen as an opposite. It's often seen as evil. We want to unpack that a little bit because it's a very real thing. Someone sent a little Facebook thing to me yesterday, and they said, I hope you have a good week next week. But remember, you're going to start your week by losing an hour. It is a full moon, a furious full moon. Mercury is in retrograde, hence I can't seem to speak. Friday is the 13th, and don't forget to wash your hands, they said. So there's a lot of that. So let's just start at the beginning. Coronavirus. You've seen the mask on the beer bottle. You've seen the jokes, the coronavirus, but it's now in over 90 countries. And there is a reason for concern. A lot of people have gotten completely well and over it. Some people have died. People are in quarantine right now. There's a huge mystery. It's a fact. It's been called flu on steroids. Because of that, there is a national and international shortage. Face masks, sanitizer, hand sanitizer. We tried to get some to have some extra on hand. Can't find it anywhere. And of all things, toilet paper. Go figure. There's a shortage on all those things. And now, then the stock market. If you've noticed that, the stock market has taken a dive. So there's that. Then there's the ongoing turmoil at the border. We've actually got a member of our congregation on a bus leading a group of young people to the border today. There's the recent tornado in Nashville. Some of our members came from Nashville. Some of us have friends, know people in Nashville where there's death, widespread destruction, people missing, disaster. That makes us think about climate change and global warming. And the other big elephant in the room and donkey, election year. I just thought of that. Purple Nation. With, each side to some degree of contemptuous and fearful of the other. There's unscrupulous politicians. There's corrupt leaders in our country and abroad, all over. Now, let's go inside your household, what you got going on in your family, with your friends. When you look at all of those things on the landscape, you can see why the kids wanted to talk about fear and why I felt like, the best way to deal with something, I believe, is to pull it out of the shadows and to talk about it. And when things are going amok and they're happening, perhaps the most prevalent thing that is spreading and out of control, could it be fear? Could it be that we're being called to reclaim it and to relook at it and to understand it for what it is, and to do that in our own lives? And so fear, anxiety, and worry. And so I want to begin by, looking at fear. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, perfect love casts away all fear. But there's a depth to that sometimes people don't understand, and there's a misconception about fear. Fear is often believed as something bad because it doesn't feel good. And because it doesn't feel good, we feel like it's bad or we've done something wrong, especially if we're an adult and we should know better. But if you have a little child that's afraid, it's not good wisdom to say, oh, that's nonsense, don't be afraid. The best way to help a child is to help that child understand that you are afraid too sometimes, that all people get afraid, that fear is very normal, and so to understand what it's about, the purpose it serves, and how do we walk with it rather than be held hostage to it, or rather than turn it into something that is dangerous. And so we want to look at the role of fear, the nature of fear, and the transmutation of fear. And how do anxiety and worry fit into all of this? When we think about fear, fear is a natural part of our nervous system. If you startle someone, you know, how many of you have had a kid come up to you and say boo, or you just, you jump. It's part of it's a built-in self-regulating process that's tied to our self-preservation. That's what fear is. Sort of like this, if you were driving your car and the red light came on that said check engine, we call that light a what? A warning light. Red light, check engine. So let's suppose you take it to the mechanic and you go inside and you sit and you wait for an hour or so, and then you come out and you pay and the light's off and you say, by the way, what was it? And they say, I don't know, I just cut that cord and got rid of that light. You would not be very happy. And as a matter of fact, you'd be upset because you would say, but wait a minute, that light came on to tell me there is a problem. Fear is just that. At its essence, fear is a message. It is a signal. It is a warning. It is telling you, fear in and of itself is nothing more than a light saying, hello, need your attention, something going on here. And just like the fact that we would not appreciate a mechanic that just takes out the light, try to take out the fear, we would want to find out what is behind it. What is causing this light to come on? What is causing this fear to come up? Now, sometimes the electrical system just goes haywire. Sometimes the light, it may be fear itself. Nothing justified behind it. But that light may come on because there's something else going on. In our society right now, there's a lot of fear. And when we ask ourselves, is there cause for concern? Absolutely. There's cause for concern about a flu on steroids. There's cause for concern about what's happening in our political system. There's cause for concern when national disaster happens. Of course there's cause for concern. But it doesn't mean that we need to get swept up and carried away and so caught up in the doom and the gloom that we become paralyzed, and this light system now is just running around and around and around because we can't get beyond it to solve the problem. When we understand the role of fear, it's just a matter of telling us something needs your attention. Then you can take that deep breath and look at it square in the face and say, is there a true threat here? Is there true danger? How am I going to respond? All of you showed up today. All of you believed you would be okay in a room with other people, even though there's a virus going around. Because we believe if we practice good habits and we take care of ourselves, we can still be safe. And so it's just because there's fear, you don't have to add being irrational. You don't have to add anything else to it. But the point that really bears saying today and understanding is it's okay and very natural to be afraid. We just don't want to have those fears carry us away. So that's sort of the role of fear. The nature of fear is best understood if you go back in time and you look at some of the indigenous cultures and they look at the story of creation. The indigenous culture saw the creation as a result of two energies, the yin and the yang, two things that came together and made the physical world. And some stories say that there are two guardians that are in charge of physical creation, that there are two guardians that work together, and notice the symbol, work together like this, to keep creation alive and well. And they call those fear and love and fear. The belief is it's not necessarily all the things that we add to the word fear. In this sense, the way they see it is if life could care less whether it went forward, we would not be here. The reason that you have natural, innate in your body, the reason you have drives, you have an appetite, the reason you want to have food, the reason that you want to be safe, The reason you have a drive to procreate are normal, natural things, because life is too much of a headache if there wasn't some pleasure in there and a drive to keep it moving forward. So the drive for self-preservation is what they called fear, that there's a part of life that has inherent within it. In the natural kingdom or animals, we would call it instinct. Animals have instinct that keep them safe. And so fear is seen as the self-preservation. Love is seen as self-expression and cooperating together. And what they believed in the ancient cultures is when fear and love worked together, they created what we would call in today's language sacred reverence. That there's a reverence, that fear was more like a respect for life. That's why in the Bible, a lot of people kind of get tripped up, because there's a lot of scriptures that talk about loving God and fearing God. If you look at the scriptures, there's a lot of scriptures that talk about fearing God, and those scriptures have been misused. But the scriptures have to do with the fact that life has love and fear to preserve itself and to cooperate and to carry itself forward. I was thinking about this week, and I remembered Jane Goodall. How many of you know who Jane Goodall is? I had the pleasure a few years ago of attending the Parliament of the World Religions, and Jane Goodall was there. She was the woman that as a young woman went and lived with the chimpanzees and did a lot of research. Well, Jane was actually in Salt Lake City, Utah at the Parliament of World Religions, and I got to talk to her and hear her presentation. And she is just, man, being around her, she embodies something very, very powerful and very graceful. It was magical. That was the highlight. One of the highlights to me was talking to her, but hearing her. And I had read this, but when she said it, I really got it at a different level. She talked to this whole people from around the world, and she was talking about her experience as a young woman living with the chimpanzees and how over time they began to interact with her. But as you know, as she was recording things we had never seen before, what was so remarkable is how human-like they were. What was so remarkable is she was watching how the mothers cared for their young and were bonded for a long time. She was watching how they would work together to solve problems. She was watching how they created the equivalent of a tool and learned how to use it and taught other chimpanzees how to use it. She was watching how they had a sense of humor and played, and she just was enthralled and loved them and felt like we could learn so much from them, and there was a lot to be learned from them. The time came after a few years, she saw something that she had never seen before, and that was when one of the males took some of the females and they broke off. They went a distance and they set up another camp, and so for the very first time, there were now two distinctly different packs or tribes, whatever they would call themselves. And after a period of being separated, at a time when food was a little scarce, one day she witnessed something that broke her heart. The ones that had left came back and a fight ensued. And it was a horrible fight. It led to death. These same chimps that had worked together and cooperated and were so kind and she thought better than humans turned out to be brutal and killed each other. And Jane stood there with tears flowing and just remembering that time, and she said she was devastated. She knew them by name. And she wanted to give up and just leave and say, what is it worth if they're worse than we are? And so she took some time by herself, and she said it was in that time of quiet that she was reminded of the creation story. That she felt like the Creator's self was speaking to herself and saying, Jane, when heaven and earth were created, I gave humankind dominion. You, humankind, have a higher order of thinking. You, humankind, have access to a sacred respect for life. You, humankind, have other ways. What you're here to see is that you don't have to fight. That the message is people have other ways of coping and being and showing up. And she said it was an incredible, enlightening moment for her. And her work and her writing began to shift at that time, because she then began to realize the power that we have as individuals to create a better world. That it's when we act from our reptilian brain and from our fear in a very selfish way, that fear apart from love is very dangerous. And love without that fear, meaning reverence, is also dangerous because you could care less, you would just disappear. So the two of those, love and fear, create a sort of sacred reverence within us. And that's the gift when we understand that within ourselves. And so we begin by, noticing those times in our life when fear shows up. And there's time that it shows up, and boy, we better be afraid. I again was thinking about it this week, and I had a vivid memory. The thing about fear is if something happens and you are afraid, you all of a sudden have tunnel vision, so you can think, your adrenaline pumps up, your heart starts pumping, you want to go to action. It's innately wired within you when something happens. I remember as a kid, I lived in eastern North Carolina, and we had some property, and we had trees on our land, and we loved to climb trees. In the east part of the state, the pine trees are shorter. It's a different kind, and they have limbs that you can climb. So my sister and I and my little cousin Eddie had climbed up this tree, and we were playing, and then we looked down. There had been a bird's nest with eggs, and a snake came up and was eating the eggs right below us. We screamed as if a mass murderer were about to get us. We screamed so loud, my father came running out of the house, my neighbor came from next door, and they both showed up at the bottom of the tree. And so here we are, and there's a dilemma. It was pretty high, and they knew if they tried to throw something at the snake and it went up, that was not going to be good because we were right up above it. So the next thing was just as scary when my dad said, "You're going to have to jump and we'll catch you." That did not sound like a good idea to me. And they wanted my little cousin, the smallest one, Eddie, to go first, and I did too. Like, yeah, let him go first. He was like a little lanky monkey anyway, and so like he just flops down and they catch him. I'm like, yeah, but he's little. I was the biggest one. And so next, my sister, I'm like, you can do it. And my sister goes and they call her, and then it's me. And so it's like, it's the snake or you got to jump. It's fear or fear. And to this day, I did jump and I survived it. But to this day, I can remember the bark. I can remember the smell. I can remember the color clothes they were wearing. I have vivid memories around that because that's what fear does. And the point is, let me ask you this. Did I do anything wrong? No. It's a normal thing. I think what the universe is wanting us to understand is, let's renegotiate our relationship with fear. Because the third point about fear is, how do we transmute it? You see, the reason we're afraid is because we want to be safe. That's why fear, reverence, is tied to self-preservation, but it's also entangled with love. Because we want to feel safe. And you reach a point where ultimately in life, are any of us guaranteed anything? Do any of us know how long or how well we're going to live? That's why the mystics say if you die before you die, you will learn to dance with fear. That fear will no longer rule you, but fear will be an informer of you. And fear will always take you to the light to understand what's going on here. How do I need to respond? What needs to be enlightened within me? There's some powerful scriptures that from many different traditions that speak about this. In the Christian scriptures, it says, if God be for you, can anyone be against you? And of course somebody could be against you, but what it's talking about is ultimately, in the ultimate scheme of things, if you're safe in your soul, if you're safe in your heart, then even death is not to be feared in an irrational way. In the Tao Te Ching, it says, he who knows how to live can walk abroad without fear of rhinoceros or tiger. He will not be wounded in battle, For in him rhinoceros can find no place to thrust their horn, tigers no place to use their claws, and weapons no place to pierce. Why is this so? Because he has no place for death to enter. On the eve before the Buddha was enlightened, Mara, who was the tempter, as Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, Eve on brink of enlightenment, it says Mara began to shoot arrows, throwing fear at the Buddha. But as the story goes, before they touched him, the arrows turned to flowers. The point of these stories are that ultimately, if we begin to work with fear, it helps us sort out what is a rational, logical concern for danger, and what is an irrational fear or anxiety or worry about vulnerability and uncertainty. You see, the root of most fear is uncertainty and worry. And whether we like it or not, the root of most fear is uncertainty and vulnerability. But whether we like it or not, would you not agree, uncertainty and vulnerability are a natural, normal part of life? That's why we try so hard to control, to predict, to get ahead of. Uncertainty and vulnerability don't feel very good. And yet it's in those places of uncertainty, in those places of vulnerability, where the fear and the love become a sacred reverence for life, when we reach a point of saying, I've done all I can do, and now I'm going to trust that there's a peace. That's where the peace that passes all understanding comes in. So how do we begin to do that? As I thought about that this week, Richard, would you give me that song? As I thought about that this week, in my meditation time, I was taken back to when I was a little kid. A lot of it came from the church. There was so much hell and damnation and devils and scary stuff. I was scared as a kid. I woke up a lot at night, afraid, and would cry out to my mom. But I also would sleep on my arm and wake up and my arm was completely numb. And I would wake up sometime terrified that something took my arm. It was gone. So I remember waking up, couldn't feel my arm, and I cried out, "Mama!" And she came in. And she very loving, she got me out of bed, took me into the hallway, and she sat down on the floor and she put me in her lap. And by then the feeling was starting to come back in my hand, and she began to rub it. And I saw that in meditation, and I believe I saw that this week because that's the answer, is to turn on the light, take it to the light. But there's a lot of fear right now, and what we're being called to do is take it to the light. Turn on the light, look at it. What is behind this fear? Is there real danger? What am I being called to do? And what is being enlightened in me? What am I trying to protect? Where am I looking for my safety? In 1940, our country was in a state of worry and fear. And rightfully so. During that time, World War II was raging in Europe. And just after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, Unity Village and Silent Unity, our prayer place in Kansas City, began to be inundated with people calling, worried and afraid and fearful. James Dillett Freeman, who is a Unity minister, was a poet. At the time, he was the head of Unity, Silent Unity Prayer Ministry. They went to James and said, "James, we need something in writing. We need a pamphlet to send to people because people are panicking. They want a prayer. They want something to hold on to." And James sat down and he took the 23rd Psalm and he started writing with that, something that he thought people could use. And he gave it to one of the people who were answering prayer calls, and she brought it back in and said, "James, if I were a woman in England and they were dropping bombs on my roof, or if I were a soldier and someone was pointing a loaded gun to my head, I would not want to start saying, 'Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.'" He said, she handed the prayer back to me and said, "You can do better than that." And he said, I thought, you want me to do better than the 23rd Psalm? But what Jim Freeman said he did is that he sat, and as he sat and connected with what fear felt like in his life, And ultimately, when you've done all you can do, what is it you need to know? And these words just flowed from him. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. And the presence of God watches over me. And wherever I am, God is, and all is well. They made that into a pamphlet and they sent it out, and people kept ordering more and more and more. It went all over the place. Recently, Robin Roberts, the news anchor who had been through 2 battles of cancer, shared that prayer as the prayer she prayed every morning. But it showed up in 1969 when Apollo astronaut Buzz Aldrin made the first Apollo trip to the moon. He took a prayer with him because he had some fear about going to the moon. And he took a prayer which he left on the moon. And that prayer is, the light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. And the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. James Dillard Freeman, a few years later, his wife was dying. She did die. And he was so heartbroken, and he was afraid. And in that time of prayer, he wrote another beautiful poem, prayer titled, I Am. That was another prayer that was so powerful and healing for people when they were afraid. In 1971, astronaut Jim Irwin took that prayer to the moon. And after 1971, Jim Irwin actually came to Unity Village to meet James Dillard Freeman and said, I want to meet the only man on earth that has 2 prayers on the moon. And those prayers came from Unity. And so I'm so excited and blessed to be a part of that. And so, how do we take it to the light? Number 1 is to turn on the light. To begin noticing there's fear, there's worry, there's anxiety. The best way to think of anxiety and worry is that warning light is stuck on. That it's stuck on, which means that you're not really able to be present to the issue because you're spinning out right here. And that's optional. We turn on the light and we realize, I have worry, I have concern. What is mine to do? Guide me in a loving, wise way. How am I supposed to respond to this? What is mine to do? And trust and listen. Follow your highest and best guidance, knowing that love and wisdom are working together. The other way that we continually turn on the light is through prayer. Prayer is about remembering, it's affirming the truth of our being. Reverend Anna Schaus wrote, what is ours to do when tragedy pushes its way into the world, into our lives? It's always ours to pray. Prayer is the highest form of perception. It's where we bring love to meet our fears. Prayer transforms us, and its energy stirs up divine hope for those whom we pray. Prayer doesn't dismiss the sting, it expands us to larger aspiration. Prayer doesn't excuse the hurt, it opens us to a vision of healing. Prayer doesn't blind us to anguish, it grows us into people who can, together with God within, build a better world. Prayer does not suppress us into inertia. It draws us out to move our feet in constructive action. Whatever is happening, know this truth, that wherever you are, God is, and it is well with my soul. We turn on the light, we look at it. What is ours to do? We spend time in prayer and meditation. We anchor ourselves in the truth that it is well within my soul. There have been times in my life, I told the last set of folks here, I've been in the back of an ambulance twice as the patient. I've had some scary things happen and I didn't know if I'd be okay. And I can tell you there is a peace that passes all understanding. That when you've done all you can do, that's when that love and that reverence for life begins to pour itself back into you as a healing love, as a healing life presence. And it's a beautiful thing when that happens. I believe that fear is up on the radar in our world right now, and it's calling us to check ourselves. Where are we having fear and anxiety and worry run amok? And how are we being called back into, let's deal with what needs our attention, but let's anchor ourselves in the truth that it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. I want to invite you to join me in this song. Some of you will know it. It's an old hymn that we've infused the prayer of protection. It is well with my soul. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to tell, it is well with my soul. Try this one, turn your volume up. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God is my life, so I know it is well with my soul. Sing it out. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. We close our eyes and turn our awareness within. There is a dimension of life that knows no thing, no place. It is boundless, it is infinite. It is life itself. It is this activity of life that flows through you. It sustains itself. It runs its own course. It sustains the universe, the planets, the sun, the moon, the stars. There is a wisdom in that is at the essence of our being. It is at this level of our being that we always know it is well in my soul. The more that we identify with the spirit essence of who we are, the more we come to know it is well in our soul. That vibration begins to radiate through every cell and through every situation. The more we come to know ourselves as an expression of all that is, we realize that life is one way that we are expressing this greater life. And our care is not as much about protecting this life as it is about expressing our potential throughout our life. It doesn't mean that we don't care for our life. As a matter of fact, we care more deeply. But we care in a way that is beautiful and loving and whole. It is grounded in sacred reverence. There are no words to really describe it, but you can feel it. We feel it as peace. We feel it as that sense of everything's going to be okay. And so we look in our life and we notice, where is there anxiety and worry? Where are we afraid this is going to happen? We find our mind running down that same loop over and over and over again. And we never berate ourselves for those things. We bring loving awareness, just as we would with a child that was in anguish or worry. We console from the soul. We do what we can. We respond. We make necessary changes. But in realization, there comes a point when there's no longer things that we can do. And it's in this place of uncertainty and vulnerability. That's where our fear gives way to sacred reverence and a deep love where life is living us. We call forth this power, this vibration of life's reverence. May it flow through us in such a way that the anxiety and the needless worry, it moves out. We are lifted in spirit. We are now able to turn on the light. We're now able to face our concerns, to talk about them, to get help, to deal with them in a productive, loving, wise manner. And to know that it is well with my soul. That we share in this beautiful life. So in your own way, I invite you to just imagine or feel in your body places that maybe you may be holding worry or anxiety. And I want you to just, with your imagination, to send it into something that looks like a balloon, but it's a bubble. It will not harm the environment, so you can relax around that. Just send it into a sacred bubble. But use your imagination and send it into that sacred bubble. Realize that you have dominion over all that you create. And so the places where that warning light, that fear light is stuck, we're just going to send it in that bubble. And now release it and watch it go up and be absorbed. And becomes fuel. We reclaim our relationship with our innate capacity for reverent fear and reverent love. That it is life's way of preserving itself. It is life's way of cooperating and loving and bringing it forth. We commit to that vibration of love, of sacred reverence. Let us also form another bubble in our imagination in the middle of this room. We're going to send the confusion around viruses. We're going to send confusion around all of these things that are creating unnecessary danger. And just put anything in that bubble that you think needs to be healed. When it's ready, it will lift off and go to the moon and bump into that prayer. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God is my life, and I know it is well, it is well with my soul. Would you stand? It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Now, would you turn to one person and give them the namaste? And if they say, "Are you going to leave?" you say, "No, I'm going to stay." Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Reverend Darlene, for always calling us a little bit deeper and inviting us to shine our light a little bit brighter in the world and remembering who we are. Now is a time in our service where we prepare for our tithes and our offerings, and you know, there is one power and one source, and that source flows through each of us, and each of us comes together and makes this community such an amazing place, and I am so grateful for this community. So as you share your gifts, take a look around and just know that this is a really powerful spiritual hub. And so we give our gifts with an open heart and with this affirmation together aloud. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving.
Thank you, God, and so it is.
Make this frame rattle with the fire like Jeremiah. Tell me, can you make my soul rise up like Ezekiel's bones? 'Cause I'm not looking for anybody to stand next to me. We gotta change the world. I'm not looking for anybody to love me. We gotta change the world. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on those shoulders. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on the shoulder. Yeah. Can you ravage my searching mind with the likes of Socrates? Tell me, can you capture my doubting heart without making me a prisoner? 'Cause I'm not looking for just anybody to stand next to me. We gotta change the world. I'm not just looking for anybody to love. You gotta change the world. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have the head on those shoulders. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. your feet. See, I'm the one who believes I can change the world. I can change the world. So don't waste my time if you don't want to be the same. Want to be the same. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. You better be, oh, you better be, Lord, you better be now. You better be, well, you better be, you better be, you better be, you better be the one. I'm not one of those who believe I can change the world, but I can. Yes, I can. So don't waste your time. Don't waste your time if you don't believe. If you don't believe I'm ashamed, you better get quick with your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. You better be quick with your tongue. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have your head upon your shoulder. Upon your shoulder.
Are we blessed or what? Thank you. So I invite our ushers to come forward, and along with our ushers, we have Diane Swift, who is one of our prayer chaplains. As a reminder that our prayer chaplains are available. If you go through this door and through our multipurpose room, in the back corner is a beautiful little prayer chapel where they will pray with you, your family, and support you in your highest and best. Would you please?
We give gratitude for all the offerings that are coming through this church, that all of you bring to it. We give gratitude for the service and the love that pours through this Unity Center. We are so grateful. And together we affirm.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God enables us. The presence of God abides with us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
So we gave our children a clue of a moon and the prayer. What a beautiful group.
Thank you. Hatton is going to tell us what the answer to the clue is.
Prayer for protection.
That's right. Why did we give a clue of the moon? Do you know, Hatton?
Because it went to the moon.
Remember, it went to the moon.
Let's see if the adults remember. Why did we give?
It went to the moon, and it's on the moon.
It's on the moon.
It's on the moon. And the kids all did put a prayer of protection and all the people that they want to protect on a prayer poster.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, would you please stand and today, hand on heart and hand up, in honor of the Center for Disease Control. Let there be peace on earth. Wisdom. Let there be peace on earth.
Let there be peace on earth
Parents, come on up. You're hiding? Did you do that?
Tell me, can you make this rain rattle like the fire, like Jeremiah? Tell me, can you make my soul rise up like Ezekiel's bones? 'Cause I'm not looking just for anybody to stand next to me. We gotta change the world. I'm not looking just for anybody to love me. We gotta change the world. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. Yeah. Tell me, can you ravish my searching mind with a light like Socrates? Tell me, can you capture my doubting heart without making me a prisoner? 'Cause I'm not looking just for anybody to stand next to me. We gotta change the world. I'm not looking for just anybody to love me. We gotta change the world. So you better be quick on your feet. You better slow down with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. See, I'm the one who believes I can change the world. So don't waste my time. Want to do the same. I said I'm the one who believes I can change the world. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. So you better be quick on your feet. You better be slow with your tongue. You better have a good head on your shoulders. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Play on. radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, socially responsive. We're radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, socially responsive.